Thank you so much, Mr. Hillman. We need to protect our small farmers, our large farmers, and every farmer in between. As we've discussed, it can be rather expensive to put a crop in the ground these days, especially on a large scale, say a couple of thousand acres or more. Will you please provide the subcommittee with some rough numbers of the financial risks so many U.S. farmers take every year?
Thank you, Senator. I think, and I alluded to some in my testimony earlier, economies of scale right now are such that just for the instance of the piece of equipment that I was referring to as the combine that I purchased in 1986 versus today, sevenfold. And I think that when we talk about farming and taking on that risk, economies of scale are there not only just with the equipment, but also the interest rates that we have today right now, some of the all of the inputs, also with labor. And so when you talk about cost per acre, going back to my early career, some of the cost per acre for rice or soybeans or corn are approaching what land was going for back in the late 80s. And so the risk involved of going out there when you have the economies of scale of having to farm more, certainly that does help defray some of those costs, but it also increases the risk that these family farmers are taking. So it's a tug of war when we talk about the economies that we're dealing with and the numbers that we're playing with right now.
Okay, I've got a few more minutes. Mr. Ragland, you lived and farmed through very real economic challenges when China, as your largest export market, was cut off for a period of time. Economic disruptions have hit the various forms during the life of the current Farm Bill and could continue to do so in the future. As a farmer, how do you view keeping up with status quo Title I farm safety net?
Well, as we've alluded to earlier, we need an increase in our reference prices. We need the opportunity for a voluntary base update as well. Many farmers like myself have a very small percentage of their cropped acres that have base, and that impacts our ARC and PLC programs, which are backbone of Title I. So we just, it's difficult with budget constraints, but to reflect the increases in our cost of production, we truly need a significant increase in all facets of the reference prices and bases, just so we can be competitive and have reasonable disaster assistance and risk management within that Title I.
Okay, and Mr. Johnson, will you please provide the subcommittee with some rough financial numbers that you've experienced and the risks that farmers take every year? Can you give us some examples of that?
Well, I think a lot of my comments would be similar to Mr. Hillman's. We're not too far apart, and cotton and rice are not too far apart when you think about cost of production. I do think about, when you think about farming efficiently, he brought up the combine example, and a cotton harvester right now, the cost for that approaches $1 million, and you really need close to 2,000 acres to justify making that purchase. When we look at fuel, labor, our seed and crop protection, that's how we end up in that 90 to $1 a pound rate for our cost of production. And so we're just under a lot of pressure to be efficient. I mean, the only way you address that is by becoming more efficient and improving your practices and making more yield with less. And to this point, that's what we're trying to do. But we need these support programs to be more effective in the current environment than they are right now.
Thank you so much.